The 2019 Urology Residency match results were recently released by the Society of Academic Urologists and the AUA. Highlights of this year's match results included a record high 83% of women participating in the process having matched to urology residency positions. This is an increase from the 75% matched in 2018. More than 430 aspiring urologists registered for the SAU AUA Urology Residency match. Of those who registered, 90% submitted preference lists, while competing for a record 339 available positions across the country. When the matching algorithm was processed, 85%, the highest rate in nearly a decade, matched to a vacancy within 136 registered and accredited training programs in the United States, leaving just 9 vacancies unmatched. Results of the urology residency match are closely watched as they can be predictors of future trends in physician workforce shortages and supplies. Here's urology resident Hans Aurora.
I think that one of the things perhaps to consider as we look at the urology match results, as we look at the demographics of people entering into urology, both applying and actually matching into urology, as we try to, in addition to just looking at general workforce issues, we have to be cognizant of how our workforce reflects our patient population. And in one way to look at that is look at people entering into urology, because presumably they'll finish urology training if they've entered into a urology residency, and then will actually constitute that future workforce. So looking at combining the data from the urology match, and also if we look at our patient data, then in that way we can kind of examine how the urology workforce is matching our patients. Similarly, when we look at the people exiting urology, we can see how trends in our workforce change over time as we look for those docs who are reaching perhaps retirement age as well.
Urology Match Day is an annual rite of passage for U.S. medical students and other applicants from around the world. Here's urology resident Mina Davaluri.
I'm currently a PGY4 resident, Euro 3, at Montefiore Medical Center in New York. And I still remember my match day like it was yesterday. And it's been 4 years now. I remember exactly where I was the night before. I was actually on a week off that day. I was in between rotations my 4th year, and I had scheduled it because I knew that match day was gonna be during that week. So I actually went home that night before the email was supposed to come out, and just wanted to spend the night with my mom, my dad, and my sister. And I remember trying to go to bed that night. I could not sleep for the life of me. It felt like it was like the best of times and it was the worst of times. I was so excited to find out the next day, but I was so nervous about where I was going to match, if I was going to match, who I was going to match with. And I remember, I think I maybe slept 2 hours the night before my match. And around 3 a.m. I woke up and I tried to watch a movie on Netflix to just make the time go by. Did not make the time go by any faster. And slowly, before I know it, I was just kind of waiting all morning until that email came out at 9 a.m. And I remember it actually came out a little late. It came out at 9:20 that day. And I remember just having my phone with me and seeing the email come up. And my mom, sister, and my dad were all home that day. And once I got the email, I had everyone come with me into our prayer room. And I was getting ready to open the email, and my sister was like, "Hold on, let me get a camera ready." I was like, "What if it's bad news?" And she was like, "Well, what if it's really good news?" And I remember my mom was to the left of me, my dad was to the right of me, and I opened up the email, and I just immediately scrolled down and saw Montefiore Medical Center, which was my number one choice. It's what I had ranked 1. And I just screamed up and down. I told my parents, I was like, "It's Montefiore!" And they were so excited. My sister was capturing the pictures from the background. And I just remember it so clearly. And I was so happy and so much joy. It's something you've worked for so long. And finally being able to come down to that one email and matching into a specialty like urology, which is so special. And on top of that, getting to match into a number 1 program is truly a blessing. And it's been 4 years, and I can say that nothing's changed in my feelings for that. So for me, I knew coming into medical school that I probably wanted to do something a little surgical, but I didn't quite know what. It wasn't until my 3rd year of med school that I started thinking about maybe some surgical subspecialties, and I decided to do a week in urology. And I was definitely drawn to the different cases that you see in urology, but more specifically what I found in urology is that every attending or anyone in urology that I was interacting with was so fun, so chill, really, really smart people. but just very, very easy to interact with, easy to work with, and I learned so much. And that's really what sealed my deal for me in urology, was the personalities that I met that kind of drew me into the field. And when you're thinking about what you want to do for the rest of your life, you kind of have to think about, who do I want to hang out with for the rest of my life? Are these the people that I want to come into work every day with and spend time with and interact with? And every urologist that I met was definitely a person that I could see myself working with, interacting with, and really enjoying giving patient care with. And that's kind of what solidified my decision. I think a couple of resources for, fourth-year medical students that are doing their sub-Is, or folks that just joined and are ready to, getting ready for their intern year, and how do you kind of get ready to being a resident. One of the things that I found helpful was the AUA actually has a medical student curriculum, and it's actually in a form of an app that you can get on the App Store. And I think that's really helpful. It kind of shows you how to do a GU exam. It goes through some radiology cases for urology, and has some content that I think is really special and helpful for a sub-I or someone coming in to do their intern year, just how to manage, some basic urologic consults. And I would say that's a great place to start before transitioning into the core curriculum.
Once again, here's urology resident Hans Aurora.
Urology interviews were a fantastic experience, because when you're a medical student, you get the experience of your home program, and you may do one or two sub-internships or away rotations at other places, and you kind of develop an idea of, you get a much better feeling for what a urology program is like. And then you get to go to these other places, and you start to get a feel what other places are like. You may have a preconceived notion of where you think you want to be, but then when you go and interview across the country, you start to realize, there are different things to consider as you develop your rank list. Interviewing in programs across the country, you also get to see that the flavor of urology all across the country. And what makes that really neat is that every program has its own culture, and you really can't perceive that from reading something on a website or talking to somebody. You really have to go and see it and feel it and experience it.
To give us more information on his match day experience and why urology appealed to him, here's urology resident Michael Ernst.
I'm a fourth-year urology resident at the University of Buffalo. And as a medical student, I think what really drew me to urology initially was the people. I knew I loved being in the operating room, and starting off, I initially was maybe even interested in anesthesia, but I was just drawn to surgery and being a surgeon. And once I met the urologists and how much fun they were having at work, I just knew that these were the people that I wanted to be working with day in and day out. Makes the day go so much faster. No matter what field you go into, you're going to be spending, just hours and hours every day. And so if you love the people you're doing and the work you're doing is fun and enjoyable, it makes it so much more bearable. And as I learned more about the field, the variety of surgeries and medical conditions you treat is, I think, just unmatched, but I think it's just the best field in medicine. And so I can't imagine how anyone isn't drawn into it. I had a very positive experience interviewing at various programs. I went to medical school in the Northeast on Long Island, and the year I applied for urology, there were actually 7 medical students applying. And so it was a little stressful because we felt like we were all competing for the same spot. But I had a great time going and meeting all the urologists at the other programs, and it was really reassuring, because while I had been drawn to the urologist at my home program, going to these other programs and meeting more and more urologists and seeing that there really was a personality that people fit into, and I could just see myself at several different programs. It was a very positive experience. I will say that it's very competitive to get into urology, and so I probably sent out over 70 applications, and so it felt like it was a long process, and there was a lot of pressure to go to a lot of interviews and certainly see as many programs as you can, which is important so you figure out what you're most interested in, what you're looking for in a program. But at a certain point, I think that it also becomes expensive and tedious for the students. So leading up to match day, I think there was certainly a lot of excitement, certainly, but very nervous. Being a competitive specialty, that there's no guarantees, even if you're the best applicant out there, that you're going to match. And there's always numbers going around about how many programs you have to rank in order to have a good chance of matching. But really, it just takes one program that you could see yourself at and that they could see you, working well within their program to match. And so there's no guarantees. And so you go in with a little bit of that anxiety as well. And I was nervous, as I said, there were 7 other people from my medical school applying for urology, and so I was excited and nervous for them as they were all going through this match process together. Being an early match, it's not everybody in the medical school applying, but we did have a nice group together. Personally, on actual match day, I really like how the AUA does the urology match. Sending out an email, you can open it privately, you can plan however you want to experience match day for yourself. I know certainly some people invited family over and they all opened up the email together. I was sitting in my apartment with my, girlfriend at the time, now my wife, and I was able to do that more privately. And I think there in whatever match you're in is a lot of anxiety. And with the regular match and the big match day, despite how exciting it is for everyone to be handed an envelope and open them all up together, it's really nice for you to be able to choose not to do that, have your private moment. And then afterwards, when you're excited and want to celebrate your match, you can always go out and do that with your friends later in the day, which we certainly did. So the first person that I told that I matched at University of Buffalo for urology was my girlfriend, and it was really a shock. Buffalo was very high on my rank list, and I was very excited to match there. It was a shock mostly because when I was applying for urology residency, I never anticipated that I was going to end up in Buffalo. I just fell in love with the program, and I remember driving away, could see myself being there. And so that's how I ended up on the top of my list. And so I was kind of laughing to myself that it had actually happened and I was heading out to Buffalo, New York. And then afterwards, I certainly had to go tell my parents and several close friends in medical school, plus all the other 7 people who were applying for urology. They were all very curious, if we had matched, where we were going, and we could all start that journey together. So in prepping for moving and starting as a urology resident, one of the nice things is you match in January and everyone else is not matching till March. And so I had a 2-month leg up on them looking for apartments and whatnot. Once I knew where I was going, I certainly started scouring Craigslist way too early. Nobody was looking to start renting in the summer in January, but I was very excited. And I also started planning how to get a 4-wheel drive car, because moving up to Buffalo, New York, I knew I was going to start contending with the snow. I would say the urology match is very exciting, and it's a great day. I know as a student, we certainly looked forward to it. And now as a resident, I've looked forward to match day every year. Doing the interviews, meeting all the applicants is great on both sides. I still am very close friends with some people who I met on the trail. And then each year I meet great people as they come as prospective residents to interview with us. And it's an exciting day, a little bit less nerve-wracking once you're actually a resident. But I look forward to it every year, the interviews and the match day, certainly.
There are 137 non-military accredited urology residency programs in the United States. Military programs cannot participate due to government regulations regarding eligibility. For 2019, 135 non-military accredited urology residency programs in the United States listed 339 positions, with 330 vacancies being matched. 389 applicants submitted preference lists, netting 59 unmatched applicants. Of the senior medical students in the U.S. applying, 91% were matched. The AUA uses a computerized mathematical algorithm to match applicants with programs using the preferences expressed on their ranked lists. For more urology residency match statistics, visit auanet.org. Please provide us with any suggestions and email them to resmatch@auanet.org in order to help us improve the urology match for you and those who participate in the future. Thank you.